Weekend greetings, fellow traders. This is Austin. It is Sunday, February 12th, almost middle of the month here. Conversation for today, most bang for the buck. This is something I've discussed with traders for years in a way that we all have looking at the market as to which symbol offers us the most potential, right? And so logical deduction for that is somebody puts up a study or a matrix of how far in a given period of time, whether that's intraday or 24 hours, whatever the case may be, of price range, do each symbol cover in dollar values. And then therefore the natural assumption, mind you now I'm using the word assume, is that the symbol with the widest range and the greatest per dollar or per contract dollar distance covered offers the most potential. Isn't that logical deduction? I mean, if something moves $1,000 per contract intraday range, then surely somewhere inside of that is opportunity for you to profit, right? Versus something that only moves, say, $500 or $700 per contract. Isn't that just logical? Here's crude oil from Friday, which would have been February 10th, and 4 a.m. Eastern. Whatever went on, some kind of news broke. Who even knows anymore that the headline reading algos reacted to. And so this is where actually now crude oil is the most active in a given day from, say, 4 a.m. Eastern to 7 or 8. And the traditional pit session has just gone flat dead. So if you really want to be a serious crude oil trader, you have to start your day, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts. You have to start your day around 4 a.m. Eastern. If you're on the Pacific time frame, if you're over on the West Coast, California or whatever, your workday has to start at 1 a.m. That's the way it is. The market doesn't care where you live. The market doesn't care that that's inconvenient for you. The market's going to do what it does, and either you conform or you fall by the wayside. Those are your choices. There's no third choice. You can't dictate to the market what you want. Well, you can, but you'll fail. Believe me, no one has ever dictated to the financial markets and won. So here we go, 4 a.m., just that straight ratchet up. If you were able to catch that as a trader, if you were there in front of the screens and you were able to figure out, it's dripping down, 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 boom, explodes up, great. And then, after that, there was just this one upwards move, and that's a decent range, no question, from 7 a.m. to 9:30, from let's be generous and say 53.30 to 54.10. So that's an 80 tick range, and that's great. But you had to get in here somewhere. You had anywhere from here. Let's be generous. Anywhere from here to here to participate. If you did not get in somewhere between this 7:15 to 8 o'clock range, somewhere either here to participate in that or here to participate in that, you had nothing for the rest of the day other than maybe a 10 or 20 tick blip somewheres. All right? And trying to catch that 10 or 20 tick blip inside of this dual chop is tough. Maybe you would, and maybe you wouldn't. Okay? And on some given days you would, and on other given days you wouldn't. But when you're in a directionless chop market, that is really damn tough. And this right here is exactly why so many retail traders have tossed the towel and walked away in the past several years. They cannot solve the constant challenge of algo chop when a market goes nowhere is directionally, just all of this megaphone stuff. Can't get on the correct side of a trade, or when you do get on the correct side of a trade, you can't hold it. All right? In certain markets. The biggest challenge that crude oil offers me, and it would be my preferred symbol if all in a perfect world, unfortunately the world ain't perfect, is liquidity. Is this type of thing where every move is either explosive or chop, and explosive or chop, and along with liquidity goes the ability to fill size. I was trading multiple contract attempts in crude oil, and at times you can click in 10, 20, 80 contracts, you'll get them all filled, and at times you'll stage 2 and it'll fill 1. It just depends on, through the price ladder, how much demand there is for the supply. And when the algos kick in, like here, they eat up all the supply and then some. If you have a 2-lot order in and they have an order for 100, you're not going to get filled on your 2-lot where you want to be. In that order for 100, they're ahead of the queue on you because they start buying here. Your buy order is here, for example, and so their order takes precedent because it's filling first. And as they fill their 100 or whatever the case may be, yours just gets swept up for the ride. If you have a limit in, you don't fill, and you have a market order in, you're going to fill somewhere worse than what you wanted to. That's a challenge of an illiquid market, and that just doesn't work for me. Now, it's perfectly fine if you're a 1-lot trader and you don't mind some slippage and you don't mind, battling through the chop and so on, then that's perfectly fine for you. If you want to be a serious crude oil trader in today's world, you really have to start your day with the European and the Asian markets back at no later than 4 a.m. Eastern, and preferably a little earlier. So if that fits your time frame, if that's where you live or that fits your lifestyle, perfect. Then it's still a fine instrument to trade. But if your lifestyle is you want to get started in the markets at 9, 10 o'clock Eastern time, you can forget it with crude because the pit sessions are just comatose. Absolutely nothing happens. When they eliminated the open outcry of the pit, they eliminated that being a real factor in crude oil trading. Okay, so enough about that. What we seldom see anymore in crude oil in a normal pit session daytime is what we still see in stocks because they're much more liquid, a lot more size, a lot more diverse activity. So you don't have just a few market players, crowding and dominating the market. And this was the same Friday. Let's compare apples to apples. So here is the S&P inside of the pit session. Now, if you live on the West Coast, where a lot of traders do, and first of all, let me say, all through the years, through my entire career as a educator in this field here, the vast majority of my clientele has always come from Texas West, either Texas, Vegas, especially California, Washington, Seattle, the West Coast. Far more concentration of traders there than anywhere else in the U.S. Okay, so I'm going with the Mountain time zone and the Pacific time zones, which are 2 and 3 hours behind Eastern. Okay, so here we have the S&P on Friday, and I participated in this move here as discussed, and it took off from, say, noon to 1 Eastern, which would be 9 and 10 o'clock Pacific or Mountain time, respectively. So 9, 10 in the morning, when the majority of traders who have made up the basis of my U.S. clientele by far, 9, 10 in the morning, this is where they are. Okay, so there's still opportunity there. They're not getting that 9, 10 in the morning, their time, where they are getting up, making coffee, breakfast, kids off to school, in the office, whatever the case may be. All right, still there, still the participation. And then the other thing with the S&P is, if you want to click in 2 or 5 or 10 or 20 contracts, you're going to get filled, and you're going to get filled about where you want to be. You might slip a tick or two, worst case scenario, but you're going to get filled on all you want. There's never a case where you put a 5-lot order in and you hold your breath praying to God that most or all of them fill, and they fill where you want to. So it's not the illiquid cyclone that crude oil has come to be. Once again, what meets your needs? That's the moral of the story. What meets your needs? Do you want something that's explosive and you almost a gambler mentality that just blows all over the chart and you're hoping to catch one of those blows without too much chop in between? Then today's crude oil market is still for you, as we discussed. Do you want something that's more methodical, that doesn't explode in your face all over the place and, chop you out and frustrate the living daylights out of you? Something that where you can, get methodically filled, you can add to positions, and you have time to deliberate. Right? Now, that being said, I'm only looking for, $100, $200, $250, $300 contract value per contract. Okay, I'm not. So the days range, getting back to the where we started here, the overall days range, that means nothing to me. I don't care about the overall days range because I'm not trying to capture it. What do I care if the days range in one symbol is $1,000 and in the other symbol is 2,000? What do I care if one symbol is 1,000 and the other 700? I'm not after the range, so that's irrelevant to me. My focus is where are the directional swings that I can take my chunks from effortlessly, or the least amount of effort, or the greatest amount of success, or whatever words we want to, articulate there. That's what matters to me. So bang for the buck, to me, no longer means greatest intraday range, which would assume to be the greatest potential. Because it doesn't matter if the bulk of that day's range happens in a 5-minute explosion, and then for hour after hour after hour after hour later, there's nothing but micro range chop. Who the hell cares? Did it matter, that the range was $1,000 when 800 of that happened in 5 minutes, and then the rest is a $200 range for the rest of the day? It was just brutal chop. Can't participate. Worthless. All right, and so that is the way I look at symbols. I constantly get questions from traders, mostly who are outside of our educational program, but some who are inside. They're like, I'm looking at, and there's no bias here on my part. They'll say something, I'm looking at bonds, I'm looking at gold, looking at crude oil, looking at the grains, looking at stocks, and what I see is, all of these various symbols have these greater ranges than something else. So therefore, that's what I'm trying to figure out. And I'm suggesting to you, rather than fixating on the greatest potential range, because you're never going to catch that. You're not going to get long at the low and out at the high. You're not going to get short at the high and out at the low. That's never going to happen more than once in a great while. What you're going to do is just take small pieces and chunks from a market in between getting chopped up. Okay, so find something where you can make that happen. Find something where you and your style allows you to take those small chunks safely out without getting chopped to pieces in the middle. So that 5 days of yours don't look like small gain, par, small gain, huge loss. And then at the end of the week you've accomplished nothing. Don't do that. Okay? Find a symbol where you can take methodical pieces from consistently and allows you to add size. That's the secret to trading, especially in today's modern world. Hope this helps. Looking forward to working with you inside, and as always, best trading wishes.